back, everybody. This is the Sales on Demand Show, and I'm your host, Adam Schneider. This is episode 111. Today we are going to be offering a bonus for the Bootcamp. Today is going to be all about scaling your business. This is what the big guys do. So the last 5 sessions were all about how to build a side income, just getting started. You know, what do you do if you've never done print on demand before? Today we're going to be talking about advanced strategies for making big money. I don't mean like, pay your phone bill money. I mean like full-time income, hiring somebody to help you, having a family income, building a business that has $1 million in value, something like that. So these are advanced strategies. And this is not for, people who are basically just looking for a side income, which is fine. All right, so summer is here. I love Canada, but honestly, one of my biggest complaints about Canada is that summer is just way too short. We don't even really get leaves on the trees until the last week of May. It depends on what year it is. I've seen it as late as June before the leaves really come out. But no matter what, it is always a welcome sight when summer gets around. I always say my favorite month is May. June is a close second to that. We're already seeing temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius, which, I don't know, that's like 85 Fahrenheit. We usually don't get hotter temperatures than that. So even that definitely feels pretty hot, and I just over the winter I bought an air conditioner and I threw it in the window. Oh man, I love air conditioning. We don't need it every single day, but when you need it, you need it. So, I mean, obviously some of you listeners, you're like, man, I would literally die without air conditioning. Yeah, I know. You can do without it here. Most houses don't have air conditioning installed unless they're in really hot areas. But you get the little portable ones, and you can pretty much manage with that. Also, the gym opens today. I waited for this day. It's been almost, I don't even know. I've lost track of how much time we've been without a gym. I've just lost track of it. Probably since December of last year, which is almost 6 months. 6 months without proper place to work out. And yeah, okay, I can go running outside, but I mean, I don't know. You've heard my rant about closing the gym. I still feel the same way, and there's just no reason for it. But the gym opens up, and I intend to throw myself at the weight rack until I can't feel my arms anymore, which is going to be a great feeling. Of course, my daughter and my son are also excited about that. My son is almost old enough to come with us to the gym. He's looking forward to it quite a bit, so that'll be a great time when we have almost the whole family there. Also, of course, the government is kind of still holding us hostage over vaccination rates. So the Alberta government has this opening up program, and they say, okay, once we reach 70% of eligible people who have the vaccine, I think it's 70% of people over age 12 with the first dose, they're like, we'll lift all the restrictions. We're at like 69.1%, and the government is literally holding us hostage over that leftover less than 1%. And it's unbelievable that this is even legal to do. So I guess that 1% is so important that they will deny us being able to go and have parades on Canada Day. This is the kind of thing that just makes me want to overthrow the government. Less than 1%. So basically, I'm already free. I'm just not complying with any more restrictions. And I don't care who knows it. I'm done. I'm done. So no more masks. I'm finished. All right. Enough of that. You want to join my Bootcamp program? I got 5 great videos. 2 of them I'm still adding to my YouTube channel. I'm a little bit behind on that because it's just been really busy. But I've got them recorded. They're all uploaded to YouTube. I'll be sending them out in an email shortly after I record and publish this show. So you can get all 5 of those videos by going to salesondemandshow.com/start. You get all 5 videos. Shows you how to open up an Etsy store, how to add your listings, how to do all the research. I spent a lot of time making these videos, and they're free. And all you got to do is go and give me your email. I don't send a lot of emails. I don't hound you about buying my program. I'm really not trying to overwhelm you with a lot of stuff. I just want people to be able to start their own business. That's really all I want from this. So go ahead and take advantage of my good nature. Join the bootcamp, salesondemandshow.com/start. All right, sales to date. I like to do this every week. Things are looking really good on Amazon. Etsy's looking pretty decent too. I'm actually really happy with how Father's Day is going. Of course, before I left on my Canadian Forces torture program, I sent a bunch of Amazon FBA products. Of course, I print and ship them myself, so I spent a couple hours doing that. It really doesn't actually take that long to print FBA mugs and box them up and ship them. The one thing that does take some time, I think, is just packaging them up. That's usually the thing that takes the most time, but it's kind of just a fun little thing to do, and I don't mind doing it at all. So I'm closing in on 16,000 in sales on Amazon. I was doing much better at this time last year, but that was because everyone was basically locked inside their houses, and we had the best Mother's Day ever. There's never been a better Mother's Day than 2020. It was quite a year. This year, things have slumped a little bit, but they're kind of recovering, and I'm noticing that particularly on Amazon.ca. This is where things are really starting to take off, is on Amazon Canada. So if you're not selling on Amazon Canada, you should be. Let me see here. I had this number. Looks like I'm up 93% on Amazon Canada for, I think, the last 30 days. And a lot of these extra sales are coming from a special automated software program that is just adding listings for me, and I'm making a lot of sales from that automated software program. I'm going to be putting information on that special program in my training course. So if you want to know more about that, that's where that information is going to be. Etsy's also doing well. I'm basically dead even on Etsy from where I was last year, which does bode well. It means that I've done pretty good at adding listings, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. So, pretty happy with the way that things are going on Etsy. I'm about $8,500 revenue. And, of course, the crypto purge continues. Crypto hasn't really recovered very much, so I'm just kind of leaving that be. I haven't really lost any money in crypto. I've just lost the gains that I made, but I see that Bitcoin is slowly creeping back up. And, of course, once inflation sort of takes hold, that crypto purge is going to turn into a crypto surge. At least that's my prediction. Nobody really knows what the future brings, but I can tell you that it's not going to be deflation. Prices aren't going to fall in the marketplace. They are going to rise. And when prices rise, people buy things that they have perceived value, which includes crypto, of course. Houses are just going crazy right now. I mean, what did somebody say the other day? I was listening to a podcast, and they said that there's only 1 million houses for sale in the entire United States, where there's normally 4 to 6,000 or 4 to 6 million. So the inventory is extremely low on houses, and it's almost impossible to build a house because the materials are so expensive. The price of lumber has just obviously skyrocketed. It's not even just lumber, it's also steel and all of the other components of houses. So you can't build a house. It's very hard to buy a house. And basically the money that's been pushed into the economy is causing some massive inflation in house prices. So that's going to have some impact. What kind of impact? Who knows? But it hopefully will push up crypto prices. It's basically what I'm looking at right now. But it also makes businesses like ours much more valuable because we don't have to have a physical location, right? I don't need to rent. I don't have any employees that I need to hire. So inflation really isn't touching me that much. I haven't had to increase my prices to account for any inflation in the last 12 months. I think that I'm probably not going to get away with that forever. May have to increase my prices eventually. But I won't have to increase them that much because the base cost of ceramic it's not really going up that much. So I'm getting away with that, which means we're becoming more competitive with other types of businesses, basically. So it's a good time to start a print-on-demand business. What is selling right now? I'm finding that, of course, right now in June, it's wedding, graduation, and engagement season, and a lot of the customized products that I have on Amazon are starting to do really well in that particular niche. So wedding, graduation, and engagement gifts are starting to really do well. In fact, just yesterday, I sold 5 engagement coffee mugs just on Amazon, and just the customized listing that I have. That doesn't include any other products that I was selling. So I need to add more of those is basically what I need to do. So that's what I'll be doing. And the way that I make those sell really well is that I advertise. I advertise on Amazon. All right. Let's talk about scaling up. So we went through 5 sessions of how to start a basic print-on-demand business, which of course, you gotta walk before you run, right? I know, however, that there are some people who listen to this podcast that are already doing okay. Maybe you're making $10,000 a year, maybe you're making 20, maybe you're making somewhere in the middle of that or lower than that, whatever. You've already kind of got things going. You don't need the basics. You're looking for some advanced strategies. You're looking to make this less of a hobby and more of a really serious business. Well, I hear you. This is basically where I was in the middle of 2020. So 12 months ago, this is what I was hoping to do. I knew that my time as an employee was probably coming to an end. And I thought, you know what? I want to turn this into a serious business. I'm tired of, making less than $100,000 every year in sales. I want this to be serious business. I want to have $1 million business that I could sell someday and become like FU rich, where you just don't have to work at all because you've got enough money to invest and live off the investment earnings if you wanted to. Or you can just basically go on partial retirement or there's so many different things that you can do if you've got, money and value in your business. So I want to get there. That's my goal. I'm motivated. I want more out of my life than what I've currently got. I am happy with my life. I'm happy, but I want to push forward. So these are strategies that I am currently implementing. And I want to compare this, and I'm sure this will be an analogy that not many people will understand, but for anybody who's ever, owned a piece of land or something like that, you've probably seen people with these hobby farms, right? They've got like 7 chickens or something and maybe a couple of goats. Maybe they even sell a little bit of milk. They have a little bit of some kind of business going, and they're sustaining themselves mostly, but they sell a little bit of the excess that they have. Maybe it's the eggs or something like that. There's hundreds of these just in my area. It's people all over the place who are like, oh, hey, I'm selling eggs, $3 a dozen. They're free run eggs, blah, 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 blah. These are what we call hobby farms. These are people who have a little bit of experience running a farm, and they're just kind of doing it because it's fun. They maybe grow some vegetables and they sell a little bit of the excess to people just locally in their area. Now, there's a big difference between a hobby farm and a profitable farm. And the difference is that a hobby farm is not making money. It's just a hobby. These people aren't seriously trying to earn a bunch of money, which is totally fine. In fact, I would love to have a hobby farm again. I would be delighted to be back on a small piece of ground, just, raising some vegetables, doing some chickens, doing some goats, maybe some sheep, something like that. But here's the thing. A hobby farm isn't going to necessarily earn you a living. It's a hobby. And most people who run hobby farms, they aren't making any real profit. They're probably losing money. And they don't really know how to scale it up. A lot of people who have hobby farms, they would like to make more money, but they don't know how. And they're not really seriously trying to do that. So, the same way that a hobby farm isn't making any money, a hobby business isn't going to make any real money either. There's a huge difference between a hobby business where you're making like daily sales, more than $200 in sales a day, versus somebody who is basically just farting around. And a couple of these factors are your selling price is under the market selling price. So a lot of times you'll see people who raise chickens and they're selling the eggs and they're selling for like $3 a dozen. Okay, well, listen, do you know what the value of those eggs are? You probably put more than $3 worth of feed into making those eggs. So if you're selling what you're producing under the market value, you're not doing yourself a favor, you're not doing anyone else a favor. You're not building a brand, and also you're not remarketing to prior customers. So these are all things that turn a hobby business into a serious business. So you've got to start selling your products for what they're worth. You've got to start building up something of a brand, and you've got to start tracking your customers so that you can remarket to them. There's a whole list here of 10 things I'm going to give them to you guys, and hopefully I'm not going to overwhelm you with this, but I just, there's so many good things to talk about here that I don't think I could have done it if I had less than 10. So I may split this up into 2 different podcasts if it ends up taking too much time, but let's see how we do here. So the very first thing that you absolutely must do if you want your business to be more than just a hobby or some kind of side thing, which again is fine. If your business is just on the side and you have a full-time job that you enjoy, then you don't need to worry about this. This isn't going to be important for you. I'm not telling you guys that your side business needs to follow these 10 steps. But if you want to get out of your full-time job, if you want to make print on demand or some kind of other business your main thing, these are 10 vital steps. So the first thing is that your business needs to be a priority, not just an afterthought. It needs to be something that you think about all the time. You prioritize not only the mental bandwidth, but your personal time, which means that you're going to have to take time from something else. That is just the way it is, right? That does feed into point number 2. You're going to need either 2 to 4 hours per day, or you're going to have to delegate to an assistant. There's no way to build a serious business unless you invest a significant amount of time. And it doesn't have to be your time, though. That's the thing here, is you don't have to be the main cog in the machine, so to speak. There are lots of people building serious businesses who basically they just go and find somebody, they train them to do the work, they pay them to do the work, then they just sort of supervise what they're doing. So there still is a little bit of time invested in there because you're still supervising what this person is doing. But most of the major work is being done by this other person. So this is where a virtual assistant becomes extremely vital. So it's either going to be you working for 2 to 4 hours every single day. And yes, I know I've often said that you can build a pretty decent print-on-demand business in about 25 minutes a day. But we're not looking to build a nice little print-on-demand business. We're looking to build a serious money-making machine here. Okay? This is going to the max, right? This is the difference between going to the gym for half an hour 3 times a week and becoming like a serious athlete. I'm training you guys to be serious business athletes here, and you need to invest more time to do that. So you either need to do the time yourself every single day, or you delegate that to an assistant, or maybe even a bunch of assistants. So there you go. Then, of course, this feeds into number 3, where you're building just so many listings. Building a enormous amount of listings is absolutely vital. There is no way to do this without having this huge stack of listings. I'm pretty close to 12,000 listings on Amazon. A significant amount of those I've built just this year. But I was building them over the last 4 years as well. You know, there are some years that I just didn't add very many listings, but this year I'm going hard. I'm going very, very, very hard. Now, this is a good one to automate because it is time consuming. So those 2 to 4 hours per day, this is what you're going to be doing with those 2 to 4 hours, is you're building more listings. And if you're delegating it to an assistant, then you're kind of automating it. Now, of course, there is ways to automate it that involve like software instead of people. So you can use either virtual assistants to do work manually, or you can use virtual assistants and software programs, or you can just use software programs. Either way, it's going to cost you a little bit of money to do that. But we're investing in a business that is going to make some serious bank. Number 4, you're going to have to invest in some mentorship, right? So, as much as you might be pretty experienced in business, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I really, really love having the mentors that I do, and I'm actually pretty fortunate that I'm very close to people who are pretty good at this business, and so I'm constantly receiving basically free mentorship from them. But if I wasn't in the position that I am right now, I would be working as hard as I can to get here. So basically, if it cost me some money, I would be paying the money. And if it cost me some time, I'd be paying that time as well. So again, I'm kind of in a good position where, you know, I am basically under the mentorship of people. They're mentoring me kind of for free, and I'm doing work for them as a return. But, you know, I'm still investing in my own knowledge, my own learning. If you stop learning, you're basically falling backwards because the market does change. Things do change. There's new platforms that come out. You know, for example, Walmart. I don't know anything about selling on Walmart. I'm going to have to learn that. So I'm going to have to invest some time in mentorship and put a strategy forward to get myself onto that platform that people are buying from. But we'll talk about that in a different step here. So the 5th thing that you're going to have to do is start investing some money in Amazon FBA. There's just no way around this. You've got to start investing, testing new listings, testing new products. You're going to have to spend some money on this. But honestly, I've found that this is probably one of the biggest ways to grow your Amazon business. No, I won't. Let me change that. It's not one of the biggest. It is the biggest way to grow your Amazon business. It's the biggest and the fastest way. Cool. Number 6. Do more than anyone else for longer than anyone else. I know this is kind of like a generic thing that people sort of say, but this is absolutely the truth. If you want to make the big bucks in any kind of business, You basically just have to do more than anyone else is doing it for longer and also do it better. So if you're making good products, you got to make your products even more appealing. Maybe you invest in some customized packaging, especially if you're doing Amazon.com selling. You invest in some customized packaging. I've been looking into that myself. It could be just as easy as printing out some customized stickers to put on a box, packaging your stuff better, more securely than other people are doing. You invest in you invest in remarketing to people, so you start building an email list. Most print-on-demand sellers do not build email lists because it actually is fairly difficult to do, especially on Amazon. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. So you've got to start doing things that no one else is doing. And if you do that, you'll start experiencing the success that no one else is experiencing as well. Course number 7, you absolutely must be selling on all platforms. If you're only selling on Amazon, you're missing out on huge sales from Etsy. If you're only selling on Etsy, you're missing out on huge sales from Amazon. If you're selling on both, but you're not planning for other platforms, you're kind of limiting yourself as well. So this is where I was at this year and last year, and of course, now I'm looking at adding more platforms to my business. So I'm really starting to seriously think about Walmart.com. So I'll let you guys know when I come up with my own strategy, and then I'll be adding that to my podcast and, of course, my training. Number 8, this isn't part-time anymore. You got to start thinking of your business as your full-time job. Even if you're still working, that work, whatever you're doing, that's part-time work. Your business has to become more of a priority, and you have to start thinking of your business as your full-time job, even if you're not making full-time money from it. This is hard to do because jobs, they take a lot of your energy, they take a lot of your mental bandwidth, they tire you out. And, I've seen, I've got a student who, he drives a truck. I'm not sure if it's like a fuel truck or something like that, but he works long hours, like 14-hour long shifts. And it really just, it takes away his ability to invest in his business. And he's not growing his business the way that he could. Not because he's working, it's because he's put too much emphasis on his full-time job. And I think he's taking like extra hours and stuff like that because he's got to pay for some stuff like that. That's a hard position to be in, and it might mean that his business doesn't grow very quickly. But you've got to be investing in both. You've got to be thinking of your business not as a part-time job, not as a side thing, but as your main thing. If you think of it as your future, you will invest more time in it. Number 9, don't get distracted. There's something called shiny object syndrome. And believe me, I know all about shiny object syndrome. And it usually afflicts people who just start getting into e-commerce. Like you're just discovering online selling for the very first time. And of course, print on demand is it's one of many different ways to sell online. So a lot of times what happens, and of course, this is literally me speaking from my experience. So don't sweat it if this happens to you, but you got to recover from it. What happens is that you discover this entire world of e-commerce, and then you start listening to other podcasts, which is fine, and you should. But then you say, oh, there's other ways to sell. I got to do that too. So you start just stacking up all of these sort of business ideas, and you try to take action on all of them. So maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to start a blog, and I'm going to start trying to do affiliate selling, and then I'm going to do print on demand too, and then I'm going to sell on Shopify and do Facebook ads or Google ads, and then I'm going to try to build an Instagram account and start making sales that way. Man, those are all valid ways to make money, but you got to pick one. You got to pick one and stick to it. If you try to do 7 things that you haven't mastered, you're going to be terrible at all of them. A human being really can only focus on 2 different things. Even that is difficult, but you can usually kind of do really good at 2 things. So if you've got let's say you got a full-time job, you can usually be pretty good at something else outside of that full-time job. And I'm talking about anything. I'm like, if you're coaching, like kids football or something, that might be the other thing that you're really good at, and you're devoting a lot of time to it. So if you start adding a whole bunch of things to that, everything is going to suffer because you're basically taking the time away that you need to master the 1 or 2 things. So you may have to end up giving something up. And you know what? It sucks. I agree. It really sucks to have to give something up. I'm constantly at the point where I'm looking at the military, I'm in the reserves, and I'm like, is this really benefiting my future? And if it's not, should I give it up? And I'm not quite at the point where I'm giving it up, but I was supposed to be going on more training this summer, and I basically have turned it down because I need to invest in my business and invest in making money. And the military is kind of a distraction outside of that. So there does come a time where you got to say no to things that you want to do in order to make a business more vital. So getting distracted is just about the worst thing that can happen to you in your first year of business. It really takes a lot of momentum out of your business to be distracted. Constantly investing in new types of business, you buy every piece of software that comes out there. Yeah, you just gotta stop doing that, basically. You gotta focus. All right, number 10. This will be the last thing, and it's pretty important, is you want to hire somebody to help you before you need the help. And this is actually something that business owners generally know. For example, when you're building a fast food restaurant, right? You're not going to need the same number of people at all times of day. But if you're trying to promote your business and people, you do a bunch of advertising and all of a sudden you've got a bunch of new customers and they come and they're waiting at the counter and nobody's serving them, or they're just getting poor service because you don't have enough people, you're going to lose those customers. Your business is going to take a dive because you failed to hire before you needed it. So let's suppose that you're doing pretty good. You've added a bunch of listings. Now you've got orders at Christmas time that you've got to ship out. I mean, this is a great problem to have. I'm not going to lie to you. But I've seen business owners, print-on-demand sellers, who refused or put off the task of hiring an assistant. And because they put that off, they're literally putting their health at risk because they don't have enough time to manage their business. So you need to hire people before it becomes necessary. Hire the person, then fill their time with tasks. That's really as simple as I can put it. So yeah, it looks like I made it through all 10 of these. Appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget, salesondemandshow.com/start to get the videos by email. And we'll see you on the next podcast. Cheers.